Okay, now this feels illegal. Anyone who plays this gambit should be arrested. I'm talking about this weird chess gambit called the Williams Gambit, which begins with a move pawn to f4, the bird opening. Now, before I challenge a random chess player on leeches for a match, I want to point out something here. One of the reasons I like this is that at least I'm 90% sure that my opponent will respond with pawn to d5 on the first move, which is the top played move, by the way, in the leeches database, as you can see. So once they do this, it is time to surprise them with a move pawn to. This is what I'm going to do against any random opponent, by the way, in no time. If my opponent takes on e4, I'm going to develop my light squad bishop, and after they play the top played move, knight f6, this is when I'm going to give them a second pawn. And the whole idea is to meet pawn takes with knight e2. I'm going to pre-move this like for real, because there's a hidden trap after pawn takes. This is where we win black's queen like this, just like in the tennis on Gambit. Are we going to see something like this in the game that I'm about to play? Let's see. Hey, I put so much effort in doing my research and when I'm creating these studies. The best way you can encourage me to keep on making more wonderful videos, just like this one, is by sharing and hitting the like button. Most importantly, leaving a comment and subscribing. If anything, just subscribe. That's if you haven't already. So, let's go. Right, so playing against a 2345 rated opponent, and there we see pawn to d5, the top played move. So let's go the Williams Gambit. After bishop c4, I expect to see knight f6 by my opponent anyways, even though they can also decline my gambit with pawn to e6. So there we see knight f6, and this is where we sacrifice another pawn, or rather a second pawn, and pre-move knight e2. So I just played this in advance, by the way. I don't know what my opponent is going to play next. Okay, bishop g4, and I just pre-moved knight e2. So let's see. There we see they have taken, and now I can sacrifice my knight once again, knowing... Okay, so I covered this move in my tutorial video. By the way, if pawn takes, I was just going to win a free queen, just like I showed you in the intro. Now, whenever you see bishop takes e2, the best way you can do is just to take back with your knight. See, I wasn't expecting my opponent to take my knight anyways, because now the queen is free and I expect my opponent to resign. Yes. Okay, let's try another opponent. So that was the 2314 rated opponent, or let me just say 2300 rated player. Right, so now I'm playing against a 2335 rated opponent. This is probably the first time I'm seeing this move, pawn to f5 on the first move. What should I do? And I don't remember covering this anyways. Let me sacrifice 2 pawns. Let me just try. Pop. Take my second pawn as well. So I wanted black to take so that I could take back with my light squad bishop and play queen h5, mate them on g6. Anyways, so my opponent played knight c6. I mean knight f6. Yeah, let me just take. And then develop my bishop with tempo. There we see knight back to f6, though I was expecting something like pawn to d5. Let me go wild with the move pawn to g4. So the idea is just to go g5. There we see g6. Anyways, pawn to g5. If knight d5, I'm just going to take on g6, mess up black's pawn structure on the king side, and take the knight. Let's see what my opponent is going to do here. I guess there's no any sensible move. Maybe knight h5. But if knight h5, I'll just play f5. See what I'm talking about? Pap. Oh god, I don't listen. And I can just take. What is my opponent doing? What are these people doing today? I can just sacrifice my bishop as well. Look at this. Who does this to their fellow adult? Is this what adulthood is all about? Oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing with my own eyeballs. This is game over. This is a 23-35 rated opponent, guys, and I'm not pretending or, doing something. These are not paid actors. Try the Williams Gambit and you will see how many people will, fall for your dirty tricks and traps. It seems a lot of people aren't just aware of this beautiful and dubious Gambit. Before I proceed, go and check out 3 of my new courses: the newly updated Semi-Slav Defense against d4, the Knight c6 Nimzowitsch Defense, and the mighty e5 Paris Defense, which is my best selling course till this date. And that's how you support this channel, by the way. Right, there we have a game. I'm playing against a 23-62 rated player. Yep, pawn takes. Now it's high time to develop the light squad bishop. I expect to see knight f6, because that's the top played move. Okay, there we see pawn to e6. Something different, finally. I think now I should develop my queen's knight. What else do I know? I just want to take. And after knight f6, what did I say in my tutorial video? You have to go after that e4 pawn with queen e2. So now the story has changed. I just want to get back my pawn, and that's what is happening now. So now I can take. If knight takes, I'm going to take back. Yep. Queen takes. Oh, there we see bishop c6 indirectly attacking my g2 pawn. I have the move pawn to f5 coming. There we see a6. I can just develop my knight. Bishop e7. How about pawn to d4? Or maybe I should have played f5 right away, but there's castle shot anyway, so there's no need to rush. And then develop my dark squad bishop on e3. Next, I want to play c3. I like my bishop along this diagonal. But let me just play bishop d3. Maybe one day I might sacrifice on h7 after h4. I don't want to lose my bishop pair. Next, I have pawn to c4, and I might even castle long, if you think about it. So clearly, my opponent declined the Williams Gambit. Nevertheless, I still continue doing what I do on this channel. Now castle long. Next, I'm ready to go g4, g5, h4, and the rest of that. In fact, here, let me play g4. What can stop me from doing that? Pawn to g6, h5. Let's go to Zion. I should be careful of bishop takes rook. Pawn to c4. The knight should go back, probably to e7, I guess, or b6. Let's see what my opponent is going to do. So I still feel comfortable in this position. Besides, I have bishop takes b4 attacking the rook. Let me even take that. What can stop me? Oh, is that a tactic or something? Oh yeah, my opponent wants to take like this, I guess. So This was just too much pressure for my opponent, I guess. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be up an exchange. So I don't think sacrificing the light squad bishop was the wise thing my opponent could have done. Oh, there's checkmate here, so I should be very careful. I almost took the rook. So there's checkmate on b2. I think this is what my opponent was after, but I have bishop c3. And now this is bad. First of all, I can sacrifice on g3 if I want, or I can just attack the rook. That'll come with the discovery, by the way. So which one? The problem with bishop takes g6 is that my opponent can just play queen e7 or just slide. So I'm not gonna win anything apart from a pawn, just a pawn. So let me just win a rook in this position. Better I win a rook than a pawn. Yeah, after queen e7, this is when I can take the rook like this. Pop. That's how we take the rook. And this is even bad, you guys. I can even play pawn to c5 and win that rook, or the knight. But before I do that, I need to take the bishop. Wow, this is crazy, you guys. So these are the consequences of declining the Williams Gambit. Never should you decline the Williams Gambit, or else... Oh, wait a second. I don't have c5. My opponent can just play knight d5. So let me attack the queen, I guess, or just go h5. So h4, h5. Check. And attack the queen. I just need to team up my rooks. Oh, and I need to be very careful of this sniper rook. Yeah. I'm ready to exchange queens on the next move. Wait a second. If knight d7, I can even sacrifice and give a check, then that. Let's hope my opponent won't do that, because I'll be happy to take the rook and take everything. Take the knight. That'll be winning. And I shouldn't forget that my... Oh, wait a second. This is what I'm talking about. And I should not forget that this is a 23. Wow. Okay, now this is completely losing. I was thinking my opponent was going to maybe keep the queen on the board, but I had many pawns and a superior position, so I guess I was still winning. All right, so this was a match. At least this guy put up a good fight, and I guess you guys had a wonderful time. You enjoyed this video, let's hope. Oh, by the way, after the first 4 opening moves of the game, there's one line I didn't cover. I only looked at knight f6, which my opponent played in this game, but what if they play pawn to f5, protecting their a4 pawn in this position? Well, the best you can do is to go pawn to d3. You still want to take, and after pawn takes, you just humble your nerves and take back on d3 with your bishop. At least you're just down a pawn in this position, but that's the idea of a gambit. You have to be down a pawn. After knight f6, this is when I would have played knight f3. Or this is when you're supposed to play knight f3, and after bishop b4, because they want to castle short. Now you unpin your knight like this, so that if they castle short, you simply go queen e2. As you can see, the evil bar says the game is dead equal, as if we haven't lost a pawn due to our rapid development and piece activity. Look at black's pieces that are just sleeping at the back rank. Maybe they might play knight c6 in this position, but this is when you can simply castle long. That's the idea in the Williams Gambit. So these are worst scenarios where your opponent declines the Williams Gambit, but to be honest, they have no reason to decline this dubious gambit. It just looks so dubious to decline. I don't know what else black should do in this position. Maybe rook e8, but this just allows us to go rook he1. centralizing all our pieces. And what else? There's no pawn to d5. Bishop takes will just help us activate our dark squared bishop on a better square. Maybe queen e7, who knows? But after this, we can just go h3 with the idea of going g4, sacrificing another pawn. By the way, for example, after bishop d7, yeah, we can even play pawn to g4. Just opening up the king side so that after pawn takes, we take back. And if knight takes, we simply sacrifice our bishop once again, like we always do. And if king takes, we go knight g5 check, and on the next move, get back our piece. And this looks dangerous, to be honest. If this, we can simply go queen h4 in this exact position, intending to go queen h7 next. What else? They might play bishop f5 just to stop queen h7 check, because you know these guys. But now rook h1 makes a lot of sense, because there's checkmate. And this is unavoidable if I'm not mistaken. Black is just losing in this position. So that's how you can play if black plays pawn to f5, back on move 4 after you play knight c3. So pawn to f5, just go d3 and start oversimplifying the game. You just take back. Your last card bishop was not doing anything on c4. So that's just how you continue playing the Williams Gambit if your opponent declines it. Right, this video was sponsored by all of our paid members on Patreon. These are the guys who support Casper Chess financially. In return, we give them extra study materials and other premium content on Patreon to thank them in style. Not to mention that all of our patrons are at liberty to make video requests and ask any chess related questions. You can join free membership and pay later if you want through the link in the comment section down below.